Hello, 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 and welcome back to Imperfectly Perfect. So here today we are going to be talking about 10 things. 10. These are my favorite 10 things that I personally feel that people with narcolepsy hate to hear, right? When we are normally speaking to people about narcolepsy and how it really affects our sleep and how tired we are and etc. These are 10 of the 10 of the things that we normally tend to hear, right? Number one is go to bed earlier. Wouldn't that be simple, right? To say I'm going to go to bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and actually get to bed. But, we don't all live in that reality, right? Aside from having just narcolepsy in itself, having children, right? Working, having pets, etc. Having all of these other little things, right? That one must take care of on a day-to-day basis, it's hard for even a person without narcolepsy to go to bed early, right? It's always that thing about the early bird gets the worm, right? So if you go to bed earlier, you'll get up earlier. That's the notion of it, and it's perfectly fine and it's perfectly understandable why people would go ahead and give you that as an advice. But in all reality, if the understanding of the of what narcolepsy is, right? The internal clock not working, what happens in the body, what is actually happening in the body. If that basic understanding is not there, of course, going to bed earlier seems like a pretty good advice. And I do honestly feel that people that give you that advice or give me that advice, let's put it this way, they're not saying it because they're stupid or anything like that. They really just don't have an understanding of what narcolepsy is. Number two is don't drink coffee. My shirt says I'm running on chaos and coffee. This is another one that kind of and again, this is going to be personal for everybody. I personally gave up coffee for an entire year. And I did it gradually, right? It took me, I think, about 3 months or so to get myself completely out of coffee. I didn't stop cold turkey or anything like that. I gradually decreased it and changed it to tea. Then I went on to decaffeinated tea and things like that, and was eventually just on water. And surprisingly enough, the year that I spent without coffee was the year that everything else in my body was kind of chaotic, right, due to medications and things like that. And was actually the year where I was taken off of work because I could actually function less. I was actually getting less rest, less sleep, less everything. So to me personally, again, for everybody's going to be different. When people tell me not to drink coffee, I just look at them like, are you freaking crazy? I can literally jug down a freaking 18 cup or 16 ounce, not an 18, an 18 ounce cup of coffee and take a nap. Personally, I only drink coffee in the morning. That is kind of has always been my routine. And there are mornings where I don't drink it just because I end up, grabbing tea or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is not one thing is going to fit for everyone, right? Our bodies are different hormonally. We're all going to different things versus whether you had children or you didn't have children, whether you're going through menopause or you're not going through menopause. Whether you have issues with your periods, and this is all if you're a female, obviously, but with males as well, there's different imbalances, different hormonal issues, different things. Some people have thyroid issues, whether you're female or male. So these are all components of things that are going to affect your body differently. And when you add anything extra to the mix, it makes it that much more complicated, right? Number three, go take a nap, especially when I am around friends and families and I look exhausted, right? But I'm still going. People would just be like, well, just go take a nap. Well, if it was that simple to just take a nap whenever I mentally wanted to, then of course I would be taking a nap. But unfortunately, there's this thing that tends to happen, right? Where our mind tends to go on overdrive. Again, the connection in the brain of a normal sleep pattern when you are actually awake and asleep is is thrown off in narcolepsy. So because of that, it makes it very hard for your body to recognize when you actually need sleep versus when you don't. That's why a lot of people actually sleep with their eyes open. They actually go into automatic behavior and all of that stuff. And we'll talk about that in another video. But what I'm trying to say is not just as simple as like laying down. There are times where I can lay down and I'll be out in like 2 seconds. And there's times where I will literally lay down in bed for an hour and cannot go to sleep. Now, I have little tricks here and there, like I'll sit down or I'll lay down and I'll just like focus on my breathing to try to mimic what my body will feel like actually sleeping. The next one is number 4. Don't watch TV before bed. To be honest with you, this is another one that for me is a little tricky because like I'm not a big TV person. So if I'm watching TV, like if I'm binge watching TV, is actually in the reverse. The TV is binge watching me because and again, I feel that it has a lot to do with the fact that I do have children. I had 4 kids by the time I was 23. I had 3 kids in 1 year. So I have always had noise and chaos around me. So there are times when the kids are not home, they're all with my ex-husband, where it's like I can't go to sleep in the silence. And again, it plays a part in different roles. There's certain times where I need complete silence and there's times where I need noise. During those times where I know that I need noise to sleep, I will go. I don't have a TV in my room. I'm not going to lie. I'll go to the living room. I'll lay on the couch. I'll put the TV on and I'll be out in like 2 seconds. So the TV in itself doesn't actually keep me awake. It actually puts me to sleep. The next one is don't sleep with your phone next to you. Now, this one is one of those things that it's like, it really depends, right? I usually keep my phone, we all have this little setting, do not disturb, right? So with the new do not disturb button right here, right? I usually have that on, honest to God, like almost every single day, like throughout the day. But I normally definitely put it on when I'm going to take a nap or before I go to bed because I do not want any interruptions. I don't want any telemarketers. I don't want any friends, any family members. I don't want anybody calling me unless it's a freaking emergency, right? So I sleep with my phone. Literally, it's like it's everywhere. Sometimes I'll put it to charge in the living room. Sometimes I put it to charge in my room. Sometimes it's in the kitchen. It really doesn't matter and it really doesn't affect me, right? I do sleep with an Apple Watch on because I do like to monitor to see what is going on, especially if I'm trying to find something different or if I started a new workout, I want to see how it's affecting my sleep and stuff like that. But honestly, sleeping with the phone next to me, like on the nightstand and stuff like that, doesn't really make a difference. It actually does help when you're using those apps to actually monitor if you want them to wake you up at a certain time. And I definitely have to make a video on that because there's a couple of apps that actually do work. Again, my sleep patterns changes every few weeks. Sometimes I can get a good 3 or 4 weeks. Sometimes I can get a month. Sometimes it's only lasts 2 weeks. But depending on what pattern I am during that time, and again, my period, everything affects all of this. There are a couple of apps that I actually found helpful. So I do have to make a video about that. Let me just make a quick note. Sleep apps. Not sleep apnea. I could talk about that too. I have 2 children with it. The next one is wake up at the same time. I am a 5 o'clock in the morning type of person. I like to wake up at 5. I like to get my day started before getting the kids' day started. That doesn't always happen. There are times where I will literally go to bed at 10 p.m. and by 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, sometimes even by 1 in the morning, I am wide awake. And I am telling you, I am awake, ready to start the day. I am energized. And what do? I get up, I clean, I cook, I prep, I do this, I get as much as I physically can done. And, by 6 in the morning, I'm done, right? By 7 in the morning, I'm done. And it really makes it, again, there we go with the concept of not really understanding the concept of narcolepsy, right? Not doing the research, not realizing that even though we all have the same condition, right? If you're diagnosed with narcolepsy, it affects us all completely different. Then we have the next one. Be positive. A lot of people tell me, oh, you need to think positive. You have to stay positive, this and this and that. And I'm like, you know what? Positivity can only get you so far. There is a lot that has to go into it. Yes, of course, looking at your situation from a different perspective definitely helps. But when you're in the midst of this, especially when you go 29 years without knowing what is happening in your body, going to multiple doctors, giving you different diagnoses, and it's like literally you get to 29, you finally have a diagnosis, you finally feel that things are going to go on the right track, you try all the medication, you try everything, and then your body is like, oh hell no, we're not taking this. It's very hard to stay positive. So as much as people think that they're being supported and stuff like that with being positive, sometimes people that live with invisible disability just really need to be heard and really need to be understood, and not so much about like, oh, you need to have faith, you need to stay positive. Yes, we all have that, but there is a simple fact that when you have something that is like that is permanent, right? It's not something that is going to ever leave you. It's something that you need to learn to live with, you need to learn to deal with. It is not as simple as just being positive or posting something positive. I'm a very positive person. I have a lot of very positive things all around the house. I try to be positive with the kids, but there are days where narcolepsy does get the best of me, and when it does, I really don't give two shits how much you tell me to stay positive, because at that moment I do feel defeated, right? And what I need is people, or whoever I am that I'm venting to, right, a family member, a friend, or whoever it is, to just have an understanding, or to at least try and see things from my perspective as far as the battles that we fight on a daily basis. The next one we have is try and relax before bed. Again, these are all very good advice, very good tips that people give. But again, there is this thing that tends to happen that more people are becoming aware of it, right? Where our minds, right, go into this overdrive. It almost mimics like ADD, if I'm not mistaken, or ADHD, where it's like our mind is just like nonstop. And it's like, it's an overactive type of thing that happens in your brain because of the lack of rest. So your brain really it's just not making the connections correctly, and you do feel at times like you're going freaking crazy. I'm not even gonna lie. Another one is don't take naps during the day. Now I've spoken to a lot of people that have narcolepsy that this works very well for them, right? Where they get up and they literally, unless they're driving, they won't even sit. And that has to do something to your body. That's to the extreme, right? Where they won't even sit, they won't lay, they won't anything until it's bedtime, and then they're able to crash. I've tried that. It doesn't work for me. What that tends to do for me personally is like I'll be up for like 27, 30 something hours. So I'm the type of person, like, even if I don't feel like taking a nap, I'm going to sit my ass down, or I'm going to lay down for at least 20, 30 minutes to give my body that time to kind of like recover and then continue on doing what I got to do. That's just me, guys. And then the last one, you have to try. And then this one is either you have to try this tea, you have to try this oil, you have to try this herb, you have to try. All right, guys. I went a year on. A lot of you, if you guys have narcolepsy, you know what Xyrem is. And I'm not bashing the medication or anything like that. Of course, you read all the side effects and stuff like that. I, for some reason, am under that 1% where Xyrem almost literally, like, it just did not agree with me, and it started immediately, like with the first dose. Again, there was a lot of back and forth whether if it was the medication or not, until it got to a certain point where there was no doubt that it was the medication, right? So after that, I did try a bunch of other medications, and then we slowly started to move away from meds because I kept on having multiple reactions, like reaction after reaction. And then we started, again, with my doctor, she was very open to everything. We tried herbs, we tried teas, we tried oils, I tried aromatherapy, I tried all of these things, and it was week on ends of trying things that just did not work. For those of you that have found relief with that, then I applaud you, and I am super excited for you. We're not all on that boat, right? The same thing with medication. There are people that take a ton of meds and still can't get out of bed. So again, there is this needing to be a little bit more compassionate, right, towards one another, because yes, we're all dealing with something that is extremely hard to live with. It is extremely hard to express, right? Or to talk about it because there's such a taboo about it, right? Well, if it's just sleep that you need, then just sleep. No, guys, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. And I keep on saying this. The quality of our sleep sucks because our sleep cycle, internal sleep cycle, is fucked up. And that's just simple fact, right? And I'm sorry that I'm cursing, guys, but you know, it is what it is. But that's pretty much what I wanted to go ahead and share with you guys, because I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only person out there with narcolepsy that gets at least 3 or 5 out of these things on a daily basis, or anytime that you try to express about narcolepsy. This is some of the things that I constantly hear, and I just wanted to make a video to share it with you guys. Well, guys, thank you for spending this time with me. Sending you guys lots of love. Bye bye.